Obama addressed some troops in Hawaii, and he told them this.
Afghanistan has a chance to rebuild its own country. We are safer. It's not going to be a source of terrorist attacks again.
General Dempsey, how can the president say that so flatly, that Afghanistan will not be the source of terrorist attacks again?
Well, I mean, you'd have to ask the president how he can say that. But if you're asking me about...
Would you say that?
If you're asking me about let me give you my impression of where we are in Afghanistan. We've got a very credible and cooperative partner in the new president and the new chief executive officer. We've got Afghan security forces who have demonstrated their willingness to stand and fight. I personally think there will be pockets inside of Afghanistan that change hands from time to time, because that's the history of the country. But I think that we're in a very good place in Afghanistan in terms of giving them a chance to do exactly what the president said. But we're going to have to keep an eye on it.
And you certainly wouldn't say the threat of terrorism from Afghanistan is gone.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, as the senior military leader of the nation, tends to be rather cautious and careful, and he also tends to be a little paranoid. And, you know, terrorism can ebb and flow. I mean, it may not be there now, and it could be there tomorrow. So that's when I said earlier, we got to keep an eye on this. We got to keep an eye on this, and we've got to recognize that terrorism flows where instability lurks.
The Military Times asked active duty service members last month how they thought the commander-in-chief was doing his job. 55% say they did not approve of President Obama's performance as commander-in-chief. Only 15% said yes, which was the lowest number of his presidency. Why do, in your opinion, so many service members have doubts about this president?
What I tell the troops when I travel around is the commander-in-chief supports their efforts, and that I can tell them with great confidence that he takes, you know, this issue of whether or not I'm being micromanaged, right?
You know, it's not just the troops on the ground. You've had the two last secretaries of defense, Panetta and Gates, both wrote searing books in which they criticized the White House for micromanaging, jumping the chain of command, and for sometimes emphasizing politics over policy. Are they right?
You mean, am I being micromanaged? Is that the question?
That's one of the questions.
Yeah. If you're asking me if I'm being micromanaged, I don't know. I better go check with the White House before I answer the question. Look, it's the wrong metric in terms of defining the relationship between the military and our elected leaders. What I can tell you is the metric that we should be focused on is access and whether my advice influences decisions. I have frequent access to the commander-in-chief. I feel no constraints in providing my advice to him, and that my advice over the past 3.5 years has influenced his decisions. You know, whether someone wants to characterize the desire, the almost insatiable appetite for information about complex issues as micromanaging, they can have at it. But for me, the metric is access and advice.